Hello, Ronan. Thank you very much for joining me for this interview. I know you've been very busy with your schedule, so really appreciate you taking time out of your day for this. I wanted to interview you because I saw a post in the real world about your first 5K month. Now, that is really insane. Good job on that. Before we go into that, let's begin with how was your life before the real world?
Yeah, so I joined the real world way before it became the real world. I joined when it was Hustlers University. So that was back in like August 2021. So that was like almost over a year ago, essentially. So at the time, there were like 2K students. So it was
Mhm.
very small then, and it was kind of cool to have this like small demographic of people just learning from a bunch of millionaires. So before then, I mean, I'd had a few jobs, but I figured out that I didn't really want to work a job, and I wanted to be location independent. I wanted to make my own money online. I didn't want to wake up in the morning, have to drive to work, talk to a boss, be like, yeah, do all that stuff. I didn't want to trade my time for money. And before I joined the real world or the Hustlers University, I was super broke and I couldn't even make my credit card payments.
Mhm.
So I mean, I was living in my mom's basement too. So and I was in okay shape, and but besides that, I mean, nothing was really going for me. So when I decided to go full into Hustlers University into the real world, that's when I really started to make money. And I wouldn't trade that decision for anything in the world.
And how did you find out about at the time Hustlers University?
We allowed to mention Andrew Tate? Yeah, okay, yeah. So I watched his podcast, his first podcast on Fresh and Fit. So that was the King of Toxic Masculinity podcast. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. So I watched that one, and he talked about Hustlers University. I'm just like, okay, it's like a university run by millionaires. That sounds pretty cool. So I decided to join that, and yeah, that's kind of how it started out.
And here we are now. So what do you think gave you that mindset of not wanting to work for a salary, not wanting to trade your time for money?
Well, I actually I knew some people. I was watching Sterling Cooper, right, and I knew a guy who was living in this like penthouse apartment in Toronto. And he was like, he's small dude, but he's smashing new chicks every night. So I knew him and I knew the lifestyle he was living. So that kind of working a regular job was ruined for me because I couldn't work that job and have that life at the same time. And I wanted to have that life. So that was sort of what inspired me to go down that path and start making my own money online.
Mhm. Fair enough. And why did you choose copywriting out of all the available methods out there in
All
the
the other methods
Hustlers
required
University?
money, and I had no money when I
Ah,
started
right.
out. So
Makes sense.
copywriting, you could start from zero and you can scale to pretty much anything. So
What has your experience been with the material, with the copywriting material taught? What makes, in this case, the real world better than trying to learn yourself on the internet?
yeah. So in the real world, you have a millionaire professor. I'm gonna name drop him, Andrew Bass. He's the man. I'm gonna tell you that guy is the man. And you have this guy taking time out of his day. He's a millionaire. He's a multimillionaire, and he's taking the time out of his day to drop in the chats to create lessons for the students. That and he started out as a copywriter, and then he scaled to being a multimillionaire, and now he owns some of the business. I can't say much about that, but he he he's done a lot of work, and really, it's just amazing that this guy he takes the time out of his day to help people out in the chats. He creates lessons. He holds calls. He holds a morning power up call for everyone, and he drops insights about how to stay more how to stay in the game, how to not get burnt out, how to keep keep doing your prospecting, keep doing your outreach and stuff like that. So I'd have to say it's Andrew Bass and even the community that make a really big difference in, compared
Could you
to,
go more in depth into the community as well, into that aspect?
yeah. So the community is cut up into, I'd say it's cut up into five or six distinct segments. So really the main four are the legions. So there's the legions, there's a captain, there's the apprentice who runs each of the legions. And in that, it's sort of like a tribe of copywriters and marketers who, we kind of assemble together, and we talk about new ways we got to beat the other tribe. We hold monthly competitions. Like, fuck these nerds. We have to defeat them. How are we going to do more outreach than them? How are we going to get more clients than them? How are we going to make more money than them? So it's that sort of competitive atmosphere. I would have said it's Harry Potter, but Harry Potter is lame. So it's much cooler than that. I'd have to say it's for making money and getting clients and really winning at life in general. And then one of the other segments is it's just the main boot camp structure. So we have a boot camp where it's like a 14-day boot camp where students who just joined the copywriting campus, they go in through the boot camp and they learn the fundamentals. Andrew teaches them the fundamentals in those boot camps. The legions, it's sort of it's a little more advanced, but it's at the boot camp where people really learn the basics and the fundamentals, where they really get everything down. And like the boot camp gives you the tools, and the legions show you how to work the tools to your best advantage, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then the last one
And
I'd have to say is the experience chat, which is what I run. And I can't really we talk a lot, we talk about a lot of cool stuff in there. I can't really say much about that.
yeah, fair.
So yeah.
And how long did it take you to become a captain?
So I was one of the first of so there were 3 captains in the copywriting campus at first, and I was one of them. So I think it was like December 2021. Andrew messages me on Discord when we were using Discord. So and he says, "Hey, I really like the stuff you've been doing for all the other students. You've been really helping them out with reviews and helping that in the chats. And I need somebody to create clips for me for these little like 1 to 2 minute video lessons for the resource channel." I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And then I created clips for him, on a weekly basis, and we got those pumping out in the resource channel. You could still find them in the resource channel. That's how I actually learned video editing. So, and then from there, he made me an apprentice, which is a captain, but at the time they were called apprentices. So made me an apprentice along with 2 other guys. There's Chief and Hilltop. And I love those guys, but they're fucking assholes. Fuck those nerds. But yeah, super, super chill guys, super awesome guys. And yeah, that's really how I started out as a captain.
That was a great breakdown. I like that. So how much time have you put into copywriting? Let's say when you started out, how much were you putting in per day? And how has that evolved over time?
I'd have to say when I started out, I actually put in about 3 hours a day. And that was over the recommended amount, because I actually asked the same question of Andrew. Is that how much time do I have to put in every single day to get good at this? And he said, "Yeah, it's just 1 to 2 hours." And I just decided, all right, fuck it. I don't have anything else to do, so I'll just put in 3. So it went from 3 hours, and then it kind of got to a point where I was doing 6 hours of writing a day. And then it's kind of fluctuated in between, but now I'm at a point where, whenever I'm awake, I'm working. So it's no longer that kind of thing where it's that work-life balance thing that people talk about that's super gay. I'm more just the guy who's just like, all right, if I'm awake, I've got shit to do. It's like, all right, might be dead tired, but it's like, ah, no, I got this and this and this. Like, all right, I'll finish that stuff and then I can sleep. And yeah,
So that sounds like a whole mindset shift there. So what do you think has caused that mindset shift from 3 hours to now just working whenever you're awake?
I couldn't really say. I mean, it just depends on how seriously you take it. Depends on how seriously you take the work. And if you take the work seriously, if you actually want the thing that you like, I really wanted that certain lifestyle where, I'm not going to a job every day. I'm making my own money online. I'm working with clients. I don't have to go to work. Somebody else can go to work, not me. I really wanted that lifestyle and I wanted to live abroad and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just went after it.
Mhm.
And
And
it's
now we
not really
can
all that complicated. It's just you have to be serious about it.
and now we can go on to the wins. So I saw your 5K a month win. What other wins have you had throughout that time?
Yeah, so I got a retainer client and I was making about over 2K a month. And then I got another one just recently. So we're working together and stuff like that. And I've just been making money every single month. And it's such a big change from doing single jobs because people will post wins about some big job they did. But I'd say it's much more impressive to get somebody on retainer. So
Mhm.
So somebody will post a win about $500 that they made. That's cool. Like that's awesome. But did you get that same client to come back and retain your services again for the next month and the next month and the next month? So I got a retainer client back in June and I've been working with this guy for months now and doesn't look like it's going to stop. He really likes my stuff. So I mean, I'm happy about that. And then I got another client just last month and then that's what took me to 5K. So I'm very happy about that too. And then he started paying me just a little bit more. I I can't release that information yet, but yeah, he's a brother in the war room, so sort of
Great.
confidential.
Mhm. And where do you see your future heading now that you're starting to scale like this?
I'd like to scale to 10K a month within the next few months. And I'd say I definitely see a future outside of Canada because Canada's kind of lame. Because I live in Canada. It's basically a slave colony. So yeah, it's not fun living here. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think maybe somewhere else, maybe Eastern Europe, scaling to 10K a month, and then from there, I want to go up to maybe a million, but we'll see. We'll see about 10K a month first. We'll get
Great.
first see what's in front of me first, and then
Mhm.
I'll worry about that later.
Yeah, it is exponential, isn't it? First, you need to put the work in, and then once you start getting clients, they'll just start rolling in.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
So,
chicks, personally, but get one chick, then you get another, and
yeah, I would like to go back a bit to the community aspect. You said you're not really sure what caused that shift from working 3 hours to 6 hours to, yeah, just doing it all the time. I'd say the real world teaches you discipline, and which I'd like to get into if you'd have something to say about that, how your discipline has changed and why you think that is,
yeah, for
and
sure.
just the friendly competition as well. So you talked about that as well, and I'd say that was a big part of it throughout. Or that competition just pushes you to do better because you see everyone around you winning so much, and you don't want to fall behind. You see
Yeah,
what is possible for them.
yeah, for sure. It's checking the wins channel. Like I used to check the wins channel every day. Like fuck, some asshole just made 10K, and I'm just, it's like shit. Okay, yeah, I've got to do my outreach now, so that's fun. But I mean, I had the right people around me. I'd say. Andrew Bass and Chief, particularly those two guys, they really helped, I'd say, inspire me to start just working every day, all day, every day. And it kind of got to a point where I realized there's not much else that I could do besides work. Because everything in life is more or less work. Even playtime. Playtime is work. So, I mean, it just got to a point where I realized everything was work and I wanted to work every day. And it's like I even worked like last year. I even worked Christmas and I worked on my birthday and I worked on every single weekend. So yeah, I'd definitely say it's that feeling of competition that you talked about as well.
So people who have just heard this and are new to the real world, when they would hear that everything is work, that would be quite a daunting experience. So could you go a bit more into depth about why you see everything as work?
Yeah, I'd have to say it's another mindset shift. And when you come from the 9 to 5 mindset, you start to see work as a chore, right? You start to see it as like, I don't want to do this. But when you're not working a job and when you need the money, it kind of becomes a necessity and it becomes something that you might actually enjoy given the right circumstances. And I believe even with the right work, with the right attitude, work can become something you enjoy. Now you're not going to enjoy it all the time because that, you got some chick, you might not enjoy fucking her, but sometimes it's got to be done. You know what I mean? So you got to do your outreach. You might not enjoy it. Sometimes it's just got to be done. You might not like prospecting, but it's got to be done. But then maybe the writing aspect will do it for you. So I mean, it's kind of my explanation's a bit of a whole mess, but I'd say you get to a point where you realize that work isn't so bad. That the worst thing that could happen to you is to stay broke for the rest of your life. So that's what I'd cap it off with.
That's good, yeah. And how seriously do you take your physicality? Because working out still applies to work as well. So I'd like you to speak about that.
Work out every day. Yeah.
Mhm.
I train
And
for,
why?
it's just it's more of a habit that's gone wild at this point. Because before I joined the real world, I was working out maybe like 4 times a week. And then afterwards, I started working out every day. And yeah, it's sort of that connection they make. But working out every day, like exercise in general, it helps clear your head. And of course, I mean, who doesn't want bigger arms, right? What guy doesn't want
Yeah,
bigger
right.
arms? So I'd like personally to be in better shape. And that's why I work out every day. I work out for about 20 minutes to an hour and full intensity. So that kind of thing. And it's just a personal thing. I like to be in the best shape possible, and I always make time for it. A lot of people say I don't have time for it. I always make time for it. So
And I guess since you've been doing it so long now, maybe you no longer think about this either, but the clarity in your mind from exercise is very useful for work, which is why I'm sure you would consider working out as part of doing work. So clarity, confidence, and yeah, looking better, all encompassing. Now, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned from the real world or from Hustlers University, if you could just name one?
man, there's a lot. There's a lot of lessons, man. because they're
Would you want to do a top three?
it's a very complicated answer because there's business lessons, there's relationship lessons, there's money lessons, there's just general life lessons. There's a whole ton. There's a whole series of categories. I think we can go for top three. Yeah,
Yeah.
top three sounds fine. Okay. So lesson number one, I'd have to say, is you should start with speed. You should always act with speed. And this became the most apparent to me when I saw how other people in the real in not the real world, but in the Matrix, let's say, like people like my family or my former friends, I saw how they operated in the world, and they did everything incredibly slowly to the point that it was maddening. I don't know how they could live that way. It's like they're living life in slow motion. You know what I mean? So I couldn't understand why they did that when I started learning in the real world in Hustlers University, because they'd wait so long to get something done that I could do in like 10 minutes. Like they'd wait 4 hours to do their outreach. I could just get it done in like 20 minutes. It's so easy. It's so quick, and you always need to act with speed because that way you build up that momentum. And when you build up the momentum, that's when it becomes an upward spiral, and that's when oh wait, I've got 5 clients on the back end now. They want to work with me. You do your outreach every day, you do it fast. Oh, now I've got 5 clients. Now I'm making money. Now I'm scaling to 10K a month. It's that kind of deal. So I'd say, yeah, acting with speed, that's number 1. And then number 2, you have to be able to work through the burnout. This was a big one because I wouldn't say that I've had a few phases of burnout, but I wouldn't say they've been like world ending for me, because people talk about burnout and they think it's like a disease. I think it's like depression or some shit. And burnout, it's not really all that bad. It's just you don't feel like doing it, and you have to realize that the people who are making money, they're working through their burnout. They feel it too, but they're working through it. And you have to be the guy, like you have to be the guy who can make money for his family, who can bring home the bacon. Like if your kids need to be fed, you need to make money. And if you want to make money, you need to work through the burnout. So that's just how I saw it. And then the third lesson, I'd say this one is more just an overall life lesson, just in general, because there are people who you can disappoint by not taking action. And yet you have your ancestors, most of all. You can disappoint your ancestors and all the people, like your future children. They count on you to really make this decision. Like if you're hesitating on joining the real world and you don't think it's worth it, okay, well, have fun staying broke, have fun staying poor. But your children, your ancestors want you to live a better life. And if you worship God or whoever, your God wants you to live a better life, and they want you to take action. They want you to move forward towards the best possible direction. And the only way you're going to do that is by joining the real world, personally. So,
A very powerful answer, Ronan.
thank you.
What do you like about Andrew Tate? Why did that first sight of him on Fresh and Fit end up inspiring you to try out his Hustlers University?
Well, I mean, I was already in the self-improvement space by that time, but I've always had the mindset kind of just in the back of my mind where if somebody who clearly knows more than me is speaking, I'm going to listen to them. Like if this guy has all the women, he has all the money, he's driving a Bugatti, He's in like top shape. Like the guy's literally ripped. He was a professional fighter. Why wouldn't I listen to him? Because clearly he knows something that I don't. And it was always kind of the same because I saw like my family, they're fucking chronically fat. No offense to my family, I love them to death, but they can't lay off the food. And then they tell me how to lose weight, and I'm thinking, why the fuck would you tell me how to lose weight? You can't stop shoving a bagel in your mouth. So I've always seen things that way. And when I saw Andrew Tate talking about what he talks about on the Fresh and Fit podcast, I decided to shut up. And I thought, okay, he clearly knows something that I don't. Okay, he's got this university. Okay, so I'm going to join. And yeah, I mean, that was the thought process behind it.
This probably is something I should have brought up earlier. Why are you referred to as Ronan, Hammer of Gods, Hammer of the Gods? Where did that come from?
Hammer of the Gods. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sort of a self-imposed title, but I used to be Lord Commander. Mainly because when I became an apprentice, they handed me a banhammer. So and it's the same for the real world as well. So I became Hammer of the Gods. Mainly because people would call my name whenever somebody was doing some degenerate shit in the chats, and I'd end up banning them. So that was sort of how things worked out. So somebody was posting like a bad link for a very degenerate Discord channel, or they're posting a spam link or something like that. We know, okay, this guy's account is compromised. And then somebody would call my name in the chats. They tag me in the chats, and I'd be on the scene. I'd be like, all right, fuck out of here. So yeah, that's kind of how things worked out. And that's why I took the name Hammer of the Gods.
And how old are you, Ronan? Because you've accomplished so much in that time that you've been in Hustlers University in the real world. So yeah, and you don't seem like a 30-year-old man, which I'm sure people would expect from all the experiences you've had. So what number would you give us?
I'm 21 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 21 years old. Not as I know there's some 19-year-old guys who are making more money than me. So that's kind of rubbed me the wrong ways. I mean, in a good way, of course. It's that competitive spirit. So I've got to kick their ass. It's that kind of deal. But yeah, I'm 21, and yeah, I mean, I saw the kind of life I wanted, and I know people don't put much experience in youth, which is something that I've had to deal with, but not on. It hasn't held me back, if that makes sense. So, 21 years old for sure.
And for people new to the real world or who are thinking of joining, what would you say would be a realistic expectation for when they would start making money? Like from what you've seen in your experience from over a year that you've been in the community. Well, yeah, what is the average time it takes until someone starts making money based off of how much time they're putting in?
Yeah. So for me, when I first started, it took me a few weeks. So that thing where they say it's like you see immediate, like you can pay for your subscription and within the first month. It's like, yeah, that's true. You can, because what I did is that I contacted one of my friends, and he said, "Hey, I need somebody who can do some copywriting for me." I said, "Sure, cool." And that's how I made my first $150. So I mean, it's definitely possible to start making money within as soon as possible. If you know where to go. I mean, they teach you everything that you need to know inside of the university. They teach you where to find clients. They teach you where they could teach you how to write the best, most persuasive copy of all time. And you don't even have to be super salesy at that as well. You can be You can write like content emails. You can write blog posts and you could still make a lot of money. So, I mean, that's been my experience with that.
And what about people who say who think it's a saturated market because of how many people are learning it?
I'd say that's a good thing. Yeah. And everyone complains or they whine about the saturated market, but I'd say that's a good thing because if you're actually good at what you do, like I am, if you're actually good at what you do, then you're going to stand out. Like you're going to easily get the clients, you're going to easily make a lot of money in a saturated market if you are really good at what you do. If you have the skill down, if you're really good at it, if you're very talented at it. And all it can take really is a month or so of dedicated effort to learn that skill. You just have to really want it and you have to really try to get it. And I'll be honest, like you can't really fail if you just keep going. So
As long as you don't give up. Yeah.
yeah, you'll never fail if you refuse to give up. So
And as long as you know you're heading in the right direction, where in this case you see so many wins around you, so you know what you're putting time into is a valuable skill.
exactly. It's like I'm in all these other guys inside the university, they're winning, and there are chicks in there too. They're winning. They're making money. I know everyone in there is headed in the right direction. So all you really like, if you want to know the right direction, join the real world and you'll know where to go. And as long as you refuse to give up, you cannot fail. It's it's that simple.
Right.
So
And a great note to end it on. So thank you very much for coming on this interview. I'm sure it was very insightful for the listeners. Thank you for the time you took out of your day, because again, I realize how busy you are with everything that's going on. So really appreciate this. Thank you, Ronan.
thank you, Ruckus.